Cheddar. Cheddar is one of the most widely consumed cheeses on earth, but the original version came from a small village in southwest England called Cheddar in the county of Somerset. Traditional cheddar was aged inside caves where the temperature and humidity stayed stable year-round. The cheese is made from cow's milk and goes through a process called cheddaring, where curds are stacked, cut, and flipped repeatedly to remove moisture and create the dense texture it's known for. Mild cheddar is smooth and creamy, while aged cheddar becomes sharper, crumbly, and filled with tiny calcium crystals that give it a slight crunch. The orange color found in many modern cheddars originally came from annatto, a natural coloring added by farmers to make pale winter cheese look richer and more expensive. Mozzarella. Mozzarella was originally made from the milk of water buffalo in southern Italy, particularly around Naples. Traditional mozzarella di bufala is still considered one of Italy's most protected cheeses. Fresh mozzarella is soft, wet, and delicate with a mild, milky flavor. The cheese is made using a process called pasta filata, where heated curds are stretched and folded until they become smooth and elastic. That stretching ability is exactly why mozzarella melts so well on pizza. Low moisture mozzarella, the kind most commonly used in restaurants, was developed later because it lasts longer and browns more evenly in ovens. Fresh mozzarella spoils quickly and is usually eaten within days of being made. Parmesan. Authentic Parmesan, known in Italy as Parmigiano Reggiano, can legally only be produced in a specific region of northern Italy. Some wheels age for more than 3 years before being sold. The cheese is made from raw cow's milk and contains only 3 ingredients: milk, salt, and rennet. During production, enormous wheels weighing around 40 kilograms are formed and left to age slowly while moisture evaporates and flavors concentrate. That aging process creates the nutty, salty flavor Parmesan is famous for. Real Parmigiano Reggiano is so tightly regulated that every wheel is inspected with small hammers by trained experts listening for internal defects. If the wheel fails inspection, it loses the official name. Blue cheese. Blue cheese gets its appearance from mold intentionally added during production, usually Penicillium roqueforti or Penicillium glaucum. As the cheese ages, producers pierce it with metal needles to let oxygen inside, allowing the blue veins to spread through the interior. The result is a strong, salty flavor and sharp smell that many people either love or hate immediately. Roquefort from France is one of the oldest blue cheeses in the world and is traditionally aged in limestone caves. The mold itself is completely safe to eat and is responsible for the distinctive flavor. Blue cheese has existed for centuries, likely discovered accidentally when cheese was stored in damp caves where the mold naturally grew. Brie. Brie is a soft French cheese covered in a white edible rind created by mold growing on the outside during aging. Underneath the rind, the texture becomes creamy and almost liquid as it matures. Brie was once considered a luxury food among French royalty and became known as the Queen of Cheeses after a famous European food competition in the early 1800s. The soft texture comes from bacteria and mold slowly breaking down proteins and fats from the outside inward. Younger Brie is firmer and milder, while older Brie develops stronger, earthy flavors and a softer center that can nearly spill out when cut open. Feta. Feta has been made in Greece for thousands of years and was traditionally stored in wooden barrels filled with brine. Authentic feta is made primarily from sheep's milk, sometimes mixed with goat's milk, which gives it a tangy flavor and crumbly texture. Because it stays submerged in salty liquid, feta remains moist instead of drying out like many aged cheeses. Ancient versions of feta-like cheese were already being described in Greek writings long before refrigeration existed. The salty brine acted as preservation, allowing the cheese to survive long journeys in hot Mediterranean climates. Swiss cheese. Swiss cheese is famous for the large holes inside it, but those holes are actually created by bacteria releasing carbon dioxide gas during aging. The bubbles slowly expand inside the cheese and form the round openings known as eyes. Traditional Emmental cheese from Switzerland developed this process naturally in alpine regions where cows grazed on mountain grass during summer. The flavor is mild, slightly nutty, and less salty than many other cheeses. For years, scientists believed tiny particles of hay caused the holes to form around them, and modern cleaner farming methods actually started reducing the number of holes appearing in some Swiss cheeses. Gouda. Gouda comes from the Netherlands and has been traded across Europe for centuries. Young Gouda is smooth and creamy, while aged Gouda becomes darker, harder, and develops caramel-like flavors with crunchy crystals forming inside. The cheese is washed during production, which lowers acidity and gives Gouda its sweeter taste compared to sharper cheeses like cheddar. Some aged Goudas mature for over 2 years and become almost candy-like in flavor. Dutch cheese markets historically treated Gouda as such an important product that entire towns built economies around trading giant cheese wheels. Camembert. Camembert looks similar to Brie, but the flavor is usually earthier and stronger. It originated in Normandy, France during the late 1700s and became internationally famous after French soldiers were given Camembert in military rations during World War I. Like Brie, it develops a soft, creamy center beneath a white mold rind. Traditional Camembert was often made from raw milk, which created deeper flavors, but also made production harder to regulate. The cheese becomes runnier as it warms, which is why it is often served at room temperature instead of cold. Cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is one of the simplest cheeses ever made. It forms when milk curdles naturally or through added acid, creating soft curds separated from whey. Unlike aged cheeses, cottage cheese is eaten fresh and contains a high moisture content that gives it its lumpy appearance. The name comes from the fact that people historically made it at home in cottages using leftover milk from butter production. Because it requires very little aging or equipment, cottage cheese became one of the easiest and cheapest cheeses to produce across Europe and North America. If this sparked your curiosity, consider subscribing so you don't miss future food content. Thanks for watching.